going on there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. I'm back here again for a brand new review for Steve Jobs. I know this is a 2015 movie, but it's Oscar season, you know? I just finished watching an amazing movie, which was Room. I intend on watching The Big Short a little bit later on tonight, but I had to do and check this out and figure out, is Michael Fassbender a true contender for this Best Actor role, as well as the actual movie Steve Jobs, really that's nominated also for Best Picture. And for me, looking at this, I can definitely tell you he is a sure thing to, essentially his role and the way that he played it as Steve Jobs, the mannerisms, the tone, the subtleness, the nuances, he played it almost to perfection in a lot of different relations. And I was like, dude, this is so good. But let's go ahead and get off into the review. So as far as the way this was shot, as far as the imagery, as far as the soundtrack, soundtrack was okay. It wasn't anything like really special to me. I think that they knew the perfect moments as far as they actually had the close-ups and the epic moments for the history of Steve Jobs, that they captured it really well. It was a really beautiful looking movie. I think they probably used digital instead of millimeter. But either way, it was captured really well. It was a beautiful looking movie. I was looking at it on Blu-ray just a little while ago, and as far as the cinematography is concerned, it wasn't anything extravagant, but I think that they captured the moments perfectly. Like the moments that I remember, like there's a moment in 1998 with the unveiling of the iMac, or even if it was the 1988 transformation of what he was doing next, right? Even like the eras, because there's a lot of different times where they go back and forth, where they'll pan back and show like a flashback in the middle of him thinking about it. And I thought that was a really cool thing to do, because a lot of different movies, they don't do that well. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll just kind of flashback out of nowhere, or they'll just kind of transition that way. But I thought that it was awesome, the fact that he was thinking about it, and then that's when it actually did the flashback, because there's some really key moments that he thinks about, even towards the end, like moments that I already seen, how he's kind of revisiting, like, man, was I right in my thinking about this? Did I wrong this person? Even I think the end of the movie, it led me to really go online. This is an iPhone, and check out what happened after his presentation in 1988. I would like to have seen that, because it all led up to that moment, and it was actually really good. But it wasn't anything, like I said, special, but it was still pretty good. But the acting is everything. The acting in this one by Michael Fassbender was amazing, because I've seen Michael Fassbender in different, relatable things, and the way he talks and his manners normally, and he just became this man. Like, the softness in his tone, the sincerity of when he was saying something that he really meant it, but the fact is that this man has some serious problems and a morality complex as well. And he showed a shell form of what I guess the whole entire scope of what this man's life was in a short amount of time, because the segments of time were only certain times. Like it was 1984, 1988, and then 1998, and that was it. You saw different flashbacks at certain moments, but every single time you saw his growth as a man, and you saw the fact is that he wasn't nice to people. The fact is that he had wronged people, but at the same time, the dude was a pioneer. He was a genius, and he believed in something. It was weird, because there were moments where he would talk to somebody, and he sounds so sincere, and he sounds so full of guile and niceness, and there's a sincerity about his passion. But then he was just mean to everybody else. I think that one of the quotes that I can definitely say is that somebody had asked him, I think it was Andy Hitsfield. He asked him basically why do you try to make people dislike you? He's like, it's not that I try, it's like that I don't relate to that being a factor, basically. And I was like, this dude is shell, but he's an amazing pioneer. But I have to talk about other knockouts, because Kate Winslet played Joan Hoffman, which is the secretary, his right hand. She's got this Polish accent, and she actually does an amazing job. She keeps part to part. If their relationship didn't click, if their chemistry didn't click, it would have failed as a movie, because I think that's one of the things that Jobs with Ashton Kutcher didn't hit on, and this one actually perfected. Not just that, even Seth Rogen as Steve Wozniak. Oh my gosh, Seth Rogen did a great job. I thought that he wasn't like outlandishly funny. I think he just did a great job showing like this is a nerd that believes in something and he's trying to relate to this man that he started this with, you know, and this man's taking the realms with it, and it's like an injustice complex, but then it's like this brotherly love, and I like that about it. Even like Jeff Bridges playing John Scully, like basically the person that Steve Jobs would count as the father figure, the one that was the initial CEO of Apple and carried on the legacy, but then there's so much strife that happens between them. There's this one dialogue sequence where they're in the kind of the hallway that it was amazing. Like I was like, Fassbender is going in on Jeff. He's going in on Jeff, but it was great to actually watch. It was great imagery to watch. Michael Stuhlbarg plays Andy Hedsberg, or Hedsfield, I'm sorry. And I think he did a great job as well. Like everybody did their roles well. I think that with the way that this movie was designed from a story standpoint, I think that that was the thing that it excelled with. The acting was on par, but the way that they did the pacing through just a 3-year timestamp, essentially, it was perfected, like in a lot of different ways, because I think a lot of people are not going to have this movie resonate with them, but for people that actually remember the current events and how they happened, not just that, the innovator that was Steve Jobs and all the backlash that happened in between Windows and Mac, it's quite interesting because this is a really smart movie. They go through a lot of the backstory, like as far as how the processor in and of itself, or how the motherboard, or how different things had to be taken out or stolen or discarded from the standpoint of the general line, coming from Apple II, coming from Macintosh, coming to iMac, and then so far on and so forth. And I thought that that was so intriguing because I'm a techie, you know what I'm saying? I was thinking that, I was like, I remember when they had this little tablet that had like a little note on it, and you sit there and use a stylus to actually work with it. And then all those different moments, it seems as though the actors sold it, but then the script incorporated all those important key moments that make his story legendary. Even the formulation of the actual empire, and even the downfall of it, and then even the return, because there's a lot of moments when you see these time gaps, they explain everything in a one set moment. And I think that that's where we're going to get people. It's like, wow, that's such a cop-out. Man, I would have loved to see more. For me, it was not even that was the issue. For me personally, what I loved is that even though you're seeing him going through the crunch number, you're seeing him just be vile to people, you're seeing him just succeed and all this success on top of success. He's like a rock star. But in the midst of all this is his relationship with his daughter. And that's one of the most beautiful things about this, because you get an understanding of his denial, his understanding, and his backstory. Like a lot of the stuff that unfolds about the way that he treats his daughter and the way he treats other people, why he does that, he really lives legitimately grow in it, because you get to hear, like even his secretary, Joe, was like, why have I not heard this about you? You know, it's like, who are you, essentially? And I thought that was so fascinating, because here you got like, you know, all these different things they could have talked about. They could have went into like the iPhone, they could have went into all these different products, they could have gone to this moment and kind of spectralized that, but instead they wanted to focus on his relationship with his daughter in the backfold. And I think that that's where Michael Fassbender succeeded on another level, because it's one thing to have the mannerisms, another thing to have, like, you know, the prestige of just having him be Steve Jobs, and he really was Steve Jobs, but then having the subtle moments and the vulnerable moments and then those scandalous moments interacting with his daughter. And I thought that every single daughter, like the little one, the middle one, and then even the older one, I thought they played it really well. But his relationship with them, the chemistry, it was like, it was a metamorphosis from a human sense that I actually saw from this man. And it adds a different layer to Steve Jobs that I didn't even know. Even though, like, I look up to him as a pioneer from the technological standpoint, now I'm looking at him like as the man, even with all his faults. There's a lot of different things that you would surprise you about people that you don't know. And I thought that was one of the most fascinating things about this movie. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was a 9 out of 10 for me. Definitely a good watch. So definitely go and check that out when you can. This is SEO 0320 giving you a non-spoiler review of Steve Jobs. Later, y'all.